So it seems that Moana 2 is already being written off as the most pointless sequel that Disney's ever made. Well, I'll be the judge of that. I didn't think this metaphor through. Ever since our corporate overlords designed the genius business strategy of just do it again, there have been three main types of sequels in our wonderful world of entertainment. The kind that perfectly build upon their predecessor and justify their existence, the kind that heartlessly tear down what came before out of spite or ignorance, and of course the nothing burgers in the middle that are equivalent to smoke in the wind, with the substance they add to their franchises being the same thing most people use to smoke their own substances. Zippo! And from the moment Moana 2 was announced, essentially being a scrap TV show turned movie, because, you know, those have done nothing but good for Disney properties in the past, pretty much everyone felt that this film was a losing battle that in time would end up being dead in the water, a C+ at best, it wouldn't make waves, whatever oceanic pun you want to put there. Even I had to think twice before I paid for my ticket. I do have to eat, you know, food doesn't grow on trees. Wait. But hey, I am nothing if not a man of equality, and I believe every film is meaningful until proven worthless. So I'm gonna put Moana 2 through a little experiment to see exactly how unnecessary it actually is, if at all. Does it further the world, develop the characters, tackle subversive topics in any unique way? There's an ocean of possible things they could have done here, so what did they do? Well, let's dive in and find out. So what exactly is the layout for this aquatic adventure? Well, without spoiling too much, we start off with a happy song about the current status quo, kinda like in the first movie. Moana feels compelled to venture beyond her family's home due to a matter of supernatural urgency after singing her big solo number for the film, kinda like in the first movie. She has a one-off run-in with the Kakamora, heads to a location deep beneath the sea, and meets up with a minor character who has a song and doesn't show up again until the post-credits scene, kinda like in the first movie. Maui sings a goofy upbeat tune on an island illustrated by these Polynesian art style cutouts, like in the first movie. Oh, and the final boss is an all-powerful threat that's been built up the whole time but never truly shown, and to defeat it, Maui lunges in and loses an iconic part of his demigodhood, only to have it immediately restored once the day is saved. Guys, is this just the same movie again? Yeah, no joke, when I was browsing the web for reviews of this film, I saw one guy say that the movie gives audiences exactly what they want, more Moana. And I thought that meant more fleshing out of the world and new avenues for our favorite characters to go down. I didn't think he meant we'd just be watching the first film again with a few update patches. Seriously, almost every plot point, every musical number, every emotional beat is copied verbatim with maybe like one small change and way less impact. Some of them are negligible and kinda harmless, like they have another run-in with the Kakamora, but this time they're actually cordial and talk about how they were evicted from their homeland because of the antagonist, Nalo. And yet we never actually see their homeland until a few seconds at the end. And aside from this little war general guy who sticks around for the voyage, the rest of his posse are completely absent for the rest of the runtime.
Sorry, cousin, I cannot play darts with you right now.
But while those repeats are unintrusive, there are some that just feel outright insulting. Take Maui, for example, my main man from the first movie. He had a fantastic arc about understanding who he is deep down, and also what makes for a true hero. He saw his demigodhood and the offerings he could give to mankind as the aspects that give his existence worth. He was cast out by his family, and after being saved by the gods, spent the entire rest of his life embracing his divinity and rejecting his humanity. He literally says without his hook, he is nothing. And he even abandons the Heart of Te-Fiti mission when it looks like his big fisher is at the end of its line. But by the end, he realizes that it's not the powers or the gifts or the divinity that makes him Maui. It's his choices and his actions. And in the end, he chooses to help Moana and the rest of the world in their time of need, losing his hook in the process, but being perfectly fine with it since he's confident in who he is now. Te-Fiti eventually gives him a new one, but at that point, he doesn't need it to feel complete. It's just a complementary tool to his already deep-rooted heroism. In the sequel, though, Maui doesn't grow at all. He has no arc, no development, and basically just acts as a cheerleader for Moana who barely goes through any growth herself. And yet they still try to copy the scene where Maui is stripped of an iconic symbol of his status after a heroic sacrifice, but this time instead of his hook, it's his tattoos. And while yeah, it's a bit of an oh geez moment to see Maui on the verge of death, why did he get his tattoos removed? Is that meant to imply that he's completely mortal now? is there some kind of underlying symbolism there that I'm not getting? I mean, the hook getting destroyed was impactful since he used to tie his entire self-worth to it, and now he cares more about just doing what's right. But aside from Mini Maui having more of his little bits in the movie, the tattoos have no plot significance at all. And just like the hook, he gets them back a few minutes later anyway. It just feels like repeating a scene for the sake of repeating a scene, and it makes no sense when you really think about it. At one point, Moana has a somber moment where all hope seems lost and she reflects on all the mistakes she's made. She even says verbatim, "I've done nothing right since I left the island."
What are you talking about?
Sure, you had a few slip-ups like when you didn't stab the clam with the poison or when Fanfic Guy almost died.
Trust me, we'll get to him later.
But you weren't a complete failure. You kept up crew morale when they were a disjointed, disgruntled bunch of misfits. You did what you needed to do to get to your mission objective. You only screwed up like once or twice in very small ways. So this complete loss of confidence, especially after all you've been through before and during this movie, just doesn't feel justified. In the first movie, when Moana finally quit, it was cliched, yeah, but it worked. She was a complete screw-up for the majority of the story with only a few small victories to her name, and her biggest blunder involved a stunt that almost cost her the heart, her life, and Maui's powers. She's launched miles away from her location with Maui leaving her high and dry, and only then does she start to feel doubtful. She's just a passionate girl that wants to find out who she is and do the right thing, and you really feel for her in this moment. But having a seasoned chief and wayfinder make a few oopsies on this voyage and then lose complete confidence in herself has next to no impact in my eyes. At least in the first movie, the overdone trope felt appropriately built up. Here I just don't understand what they were trying to do other than have a prelude to Maui's little motivational song. Oh yes, speaking of which. The music! The one aspect of Moana that was inescapable in its heyday, even if you didn't see the movie. It was a soundtrack that gave Frozen a run for its money. And if you ask people like me, kinda surpasses it. Seriously, Frozen has like 2 great songs, but all of Moana's tracks are bangers. So did they manage to bring about the same charm with the sequel? Well, the same is definitely there, just not much of the charm. Yeah, if you thought that the plot was copy-pasted, the music is an even greater offender. Every major song in this movie is just a less catchy, less iconic version of a song from the original. We're Back is basically just who you are, but never once do they consider the coconut, which is a cardinal sin. Beyond is just a die at how far I'll go, even having a title and lyrics that are in the same wheelhouse. Get Lost isn't the exact same as Shiny, but its placement in the story is basically identical. Plus, Shiny actually has narrative purpose as it was meant to highlight how Tomatoa was a dark parallel to Maui and showed what he could have become if he kept his current what's on the outside counts mindset. Meanwhile, Get Lost, I don't know, it was kinda catchy, I guess. Not bad. But the biggest disappointment was Maui's song. You're Welcome was kind of a micro-obsession for me when I first heard it. I loved it, I listened to it on loop, and I even tried to cover it once. It didn't end well, but at least I had a good time. In this movie, we get Can I Get a Chee Hoo? And yeah, it's not even remotely close. Aside from showing how much Maui and Moana's friendship has developed, this song just has nothing to it. Not catchy, not memorable, honestly kind of annoying the more I think about it. It's not scuttlebutt levels of insufferable, but man, if there was a musical equivalent of in one ear and out the other, it would definitely be this. And hey, give Scuttlebutt some credit, at least it was actually written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, which is more than I can say for any of these songs. Yeah, Lin didn't come back for this movie. He was too busy working on the soon-to-be masterpiece Mufasa! Yeah, I couldn't even finish that sentence. So if Lin is not the mastermind writer behind the wheel, then who's writing these songs in his stead? Oh, a duo of TikTokers! Now it all makes sense. TikTok, for the most part, is fast food content. Stuff that you watch once, move on to the next thing, and usually forget about within a week. And I'd say that most of these songs fit that mode pretty well. They were a decent listen once, but I don't think I'll ever go back to any of them. I am curious though, since music is so subjective, did anyone actually get the same buzz from these songs as the ones from the first movie? I genuinely want to know, because there are definitely some people listening to them. As for the new characters... What new characters? I mean, there were definitely people on screen that I've never seen before, but I'd struggle to call them characters. Matangi is our twist villain of the story, and by that I mean the twist is that she's not actually a villain despite what the marketing kinda implied. She's kinda fun and her voice acting is nice, but I feel like she needed a little more time to really leave an impact. Moana has a little sister now, and she's pretty cute, but just like Pooh in the first movie, she just kinda stays on the island and misses her big sis, so not much to say. There's also a new wayfinding crew that our protag brings along, including grumpy reclusive old farmer guy, engineer girl on her 50th morning coffee, and overbearing fanfic guy. But that's basically where their characters begin and end. They don't really grow or change at all, aside from minor stuff like the old man learning how to swim. Hooray! So was there anything in this movie I fully enjoyed? Well, aside from Moana's sister being adorable, there were some moments that almost did their job. The scene where Moana freaking dies and gets resurrected both looked and sounded really nice. I'm not entirely sure why the ancestors are able to resurrect someone. I thought only the gods could do that. But hey, it's at least thematically well put together. It even results in Moana becoming a demigod herself, which, you know, probably would have felt more rewarding after an entire series worth of build-up, but she did risk her life for her people, so okay, fair enough, she can have this. The animation was still nice. Not as mind-blowing as the aquatics in movie 1, but still expressive and decent, especially for stuff that apparently wasn't done in-house. Voice acting was nice, especially since some people apparently recorded their lines kinda last minute. And yeah, I think that's about it. Honestly, I saw a lot of people saying they were just disappointed with this movie, but personally, I'm actually kind of baffled that they released something this blatantly similar to the first movie. It's not uncommon for sequels to just be repeats of the original, but geez, I haven't felt this lukewarm and empty after leaving a movie theater in a long time. And if you know me, that's saying a ton. So all things considered, is Moana 2 truly a pointless sequel? Subjectively speaking, no. I can see why people would enjoy this. Despite its silver screen debut, Moana 2 comes off as exactly what it is. A safe, marketable, unchallenging, condensed TV show that you can watch with your family and be unoffended and happy. And let me make it clear right now, there is nothing at all wrong with safe content. I love safe content, I'm sure you all do too. When I'm done with my daily work shift and I'm collapsed on the couch, half asleep with a soda in my hand, I don't feel like binging a new full season of Scavenger's Reign or Arcane. I'll put on something simple like Family Feud or King of Queens or Twitch stream highlights and just sit in my little comfort bubble as I try to relax. There is a time and a place for stuff like this. And if you like Moana 2 because it's fun and comforting, then I have no reason to tell you you're wrong. But if we look at things objectively through a much wider lens, this is technically a movie that is beat for beat the same as its predecessor, adding little of value to the overall world and failing to expand on the stuff it does add, with songs that'll be forgotten in a week and characters that just aren't, constructed from scraps of something that was never meant to be a second film in the first place. In many ways, this movie kinda redefines what a pointless sequel is. It's not just a movie that doesn't need to exist, it's a movie that really shouldn't exist in the form it's in now. It was rushed, cobbled together, and definitely undercooked. It doesn't have the gravitas that a direct follow-up to a theatrical movie should, and since it has to condense a show that probably ran for more than just 2 hours, there are likely missing story beats that could have made the major moments feel much more grand. It's an anomaly of Disney Animation, but I highly doubt that Disney themselves care since their pockets are currently swimming in seas of green. This film demolished the box office during Thanksgiving, even beating out Wicked by over $100 million. And you know that when Disney sees something lucrative, they're gonna squeeze it for every shilling it's worth. And that horrifies me. I repeat that there is nothing wrong with safe content, but I don't want safe to be the beginning and the end of the next 100 years of Disney. These guys are pioneers, explorers, wayfinders of their own. Animation and entertainment as a whole wouldn't be the same if not for them. I know they're not the infallible gods they used to be and are just trying to do whatever makes them money at this point, but if all they do is just reuse IPs, or in this case rehash entire movies, they're gonna run out of cows to milk eventually. Moana 2 may be making bank now, and we all know Disney has a whole train of sequels rolling in, but how long will it be before things start to crumble? How long before casual viewers leave familiar territory for greener pastures? How long before Disney starts getting even lazier with their feature films, like maybe outsourcing all the animation, repackaging other Disney Plus series as full sequels, or having stars record their lines even closer to a project's completion? How long before the company becomes complacent in the fact that they don't have to try anymore, and the quality slips to a point where you can't tell a Disney film from a low-budget B movie? How long before it just becomes too much? Well, I've got my eyes glued to the horizon, but I'm not expecting entirely clear skies. Alright, those are my thoughts on Moana 2. I don't know, maybe I was a little bit hard on an ultimately harmless movie, but the animation lover in me was hoping that this month's cartoon blockbuster would be something special. Like, these kinds of earnings deserve to go towards something more groundbreaking or original. Like, am I wrong to think that way? But hey, let's hear what you guys think. Is there some kind of hidden genius to Moana 2 that I'm just not getting? Do you think it deserves to be one of the biggest films of the year, which it looks like it's going to be? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, cause I'd really like to hear some defenses for this film. Like, genuinely, that's not even sarcasm. People definitely seem to like this movie, and I really want to know why. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I hope to see you all real soon.